Good day everybody, welcome back to the second part of my series where I'm making vegetarian locally sourced meals to reduce my environmental impact. Today we're going to be doing homemade potato gnocchi with a silverbeet, red onion and ricotta cream sauce. Our ingredients are: for the gnocchi you will need 2 eggs, a kilogram of potatoes, preferably russet or Yukon Gold, although those are difficult to find in Australia. I'm using another white starchy potato, which is just Coles brush potatoes, labelled helpfully on the front, good for gnocchi. We'll also need a little bit of plain flour. All of these ingredients are 100% Australian made or grown. For the sauce, we have an Australian red onion, Australian spring onions and silverbeet from the growers market, Australian cream and ricotta, and Australian butter. In fact, the only non-Australian products that we'll be using today are a little bit of nutmeg, salt and pepper for our seasoning. Bring a pot of water to the boil to boil the potatoes for the gnocchi. We're actually going to boil these potatoes in their skin to reduce the amount of moisture that they absorb. This is going to give us a firmer, more enjoyable gnocchi. Obviously, wash your potatoes first, and you're going to put them into a water hole when the water comes to a boil. When the water is boiling vigorously like so, carefully take your cleaned skin on potatoes and place them in to boil until tender. Because these potatoes are really quite large, we're going to boil them on a little bit of a lower heat for a bit longer to make sure that they're cooked through, but don't absorb too much moisture on the outside. While the potatoes are boiling in the background, we're going to separate the leaves and the stems from our silverbeet. If you'd like to reduce your waste, you can braise the stems, so boil them and then give them a light fry and serve them a bit like you would asparagus, or you can compost them. If you have any left over, you can freeze that to use it later in salads or other recipes. We're going to take these leaves and wash them thoroughly on both sides and then pat them dry. Next, we're going to chop out dried and washed leaves. Now that we've chopped up all of our clean chard, we are going to slice, so not dice, but slice half of this large red onion. And we're going to finally dice a large clove of garlic. Next, pop a pan on the stove with a generous dollop of our Australian butter. And we're going to add in our sliced red onion and our finely diced garlic to saute and caramelize. And finally, and our old chopping board is looking pretty used, we're going to finally slice up some spring onion leaves just to have a little bit of a nice garnish at the end. Alrighty, our potatoes are boiled. You can see that if I put my fork in, I'll just put it in somewhere I haven't before, goes through with minimal resistance and slips out easily. So what we're going to do is pop them in a colander to drain them. And we're just going to let them get completely dry and cool down here in this colander. Now that our onions and garlic are nice and fragrant and they've cooked down a little bit, I'm going to add in our silverbeet, which will wilt and cook down. Now that everything has nicely wilted and reduced down a bit, we'll add heavy cream and bring it up into a simmer. Then we'll stir through the ricotta until it's nice and smooth. Next, we're going to mash all of our potatoes after we've peeled them and placed them into a pot. Next, pour out 2 cups of plain flour and add about a teaspoon of salt on top onto a bench top. Now we're going to make a well in the middle, and into this we're going to place 2 eggs and our mashed potato. Next, roll out your dough into a long log like this. We're going to cut that up into small pieces, and then I've just rolled those small pieces with my hands into some little balls like this. We are just going to grab a fork and just give them the typical traditional sort of markings of a gnocchi, but gently going like that. That one's stuck to it. Next, with a fork, take one of your gnocchi. Just going to give it gently the typical traditional marking, although this one appears to have stuck to my fork, like so. Now, after you've separated them into your logs, roll them just with your hands into little balls, and as I said, smooth them with a fork. We made about this many. So, quite a few. Make sure to let them rest for about 20 minutes before you put them into your pot. You can leave them out for a bit longer, but not more than about an hour and a half, they'll get too dry. We separate them into batches. This one was ready a bit earlier and these ones were a bit later, just so that we can track that more effectively. Into a pot of boiling water with a bit of salt in it, add your uncooked gnocchi. When all of your gnocchi have floated to the surface like so, they're ready. And strain as you would any other pasta into a colander like so. Then you can add to a bowl with your pasta sauce and, if you so desire, some grated parmesan or cheddar cheese, and enjoy. Oh, and don't forget to garnish with the spring onions from earlier. And here, after all that, is the final product. Isn't that looking nice? We've got our gnocchi, we have our Silverbeet and ricotta sauce, a bit of cheese, and for garnish, our spring onions. How lovely. Enjoy!